BM5 on Friday, April 3rd, 2015. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm joined by Dwayne Long. Dwayne, we got a chance to interview some of Ohio State's running backs, and new running backs coach Tony Alford yesterday. We got a chance to interview Chris Ash and some safeties yesterday. And first of all, Tony Alford's very impressive. I mean, he's very charismatic, very knowledgeable. We've talked about this a lot, that they hit a home run hire and all these terms that we've thrown out there, but they absolutely did. I mean, this guy knows football. He's a respected guy around the country. He's a good recruiter. I mean, I love Stan Drayton. I almost hate saying this. I feel like they upgraded, and that's no slap to Stan Drayton. I think he did a great job. I'm just so impressed with Tony Alford.
When I saw him interviewed, the thing that I said, dynamic. This guy, when he walks in a room, he's going to command attention. I mean, the kids are going to respond to him. I hated losing Stan Drayton. Stan Drayton had proven himself here. He had proven himself both as a recruiter and as a coach. I mean, we've had quality backs, a quality talent to work with, and that goes back to his hard work. But this guy here, I was like, wow, knocked it out of the park on this one. So, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. He's a very impressive guy.
Ezekiel Elliott told us he got his cast off on Monday. He says he will be 100% in 6 weeks. I'm not sure if he'll be 100% in 6 weeks. That's the plan. The bottom line is, though, he should be fine for the start of the season. And I know there's some fans have been concerned about this. It's like, listen, the guy, played basically one-handed last year and had one of the best seasons in Ohio State history. What can he do with two hands? And, it's a big deal for running backs when you can't use your left hand. You think, well, he's a right-handed guy. Well, no. As everybody who's listening to the show probably knows, running backs, when they go to the left, switch the ball to the left hand. He likes to use his stiff arm a lot, which we saw him use in the Alabama game, and he fumbled. Really had nothing to do with the fractured wrist, I don't think. I think Alabama just made a nice play on that. And Ezekiel is a great blocker. That's one thing Tony Alford said about him when he was talking about Ezekiel. He said, Ezekiel is very impressive with the ball. Everybody knows that. He's like, he is impressive without the ball. He's a ferocious blocker. Anyway, Dwayne, I just want to get your take on Ezekiel's left wrist situation. He's had 2 surgeries since August, including one in February. I'm not all that concerned about it. It's not like he tore his ACL or something. That I would be concerned about. Your take on the left wrist injury?
I'm not the least bit worried about it. We're too far away from the season to get too worked up about a back with a wrist problem. Now, it's going to be plenty healed, have plenty of time to get the strength back up, and you wonder what he's going to be. Try to play most sports with one arm. You can't tell me he's not going to be that much more impressive. As you said, switching the ball back and forth, that had to be a problem. He couldn't move the ball over to his left hand sometimes when he wanted to. The stiff arm, that's a weapon for a back. He's got to be able to use that. How much better is he going to be with a completely healthy wrist? So I see the positives. I don't see the negatives. He's got plenty of time to overcome this. There's never been any question about his work ethic. I'm not the least bit worried about the wrist. I think we'll see an even better back. He's going to come into the season so confident. He ran through Alabama, ran roughshod over Oregon, so he's primed and ready. He knows what he can do, and a fully healthy guy. Oh my goodness, what's he going to be able to pull off this year? So looking forward to it. Not the least bit concerned about the injury.
Exactly, he's got his 4 offensive linemen returning, 4 of the 5 offensive linemen returning, and I think that new starter Chase Ferris is going to do just fine at right tackle. I don't think we're going to see any drop-off from Darryl Baldwin to Chase Ferris, and Darryl Baldwin had an excellent senior season. Chase Ferris is just, everybody's impressed with him. Ed Warner is impressed with him. Some of the other starting offensive linemen like Pat Elflein have said, watch out for Chase Ferris. He's going to have a big year. So Ezekiel has all the weapons around him.
You have to look at Ferris and say this kid's been defensive lineman, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, offensive lineman. Now, that he's settled into one spot, this will be the first time he's been in the same spot for 2 years. He's a more athletic guy than Darryl Baldwin, so there's every reason to be optimistic about what he's going to be able to do in there. I'm very positive, and the other guys are going to be able to help him. They've been in there now, and let's be honest, we got one of the best offensive line coaches in football. Forget about college, just in football.
Football period,
this guy's brought along some guys. I mean, if you would have, just think about that. You got a center that's not much bigger than a fullback, and a guard that's not much bigger than that, and then a freshman who had been playing defense the year before on the other side of him. And end up just running over top of the best teams in the country. So this guy is, we need to pay this guy and hold on to Warner for as long as we possibly can. So eventually somebody's going to offer him a job that we won't be able to keep him here any longer. But for now, let's keep him as happy as we can. We don't want any sideways moves or taking a job that he wouldn't necessarily take if the money was right. So let's pay this guy.
Yeah, Buckeyes are fortunate that Kansas did not offer Ed Warner their head coaching job, because he would have taken it, and I think Kansas should have offered it to him. But as a Buckeye supporter, I am glad that they did not. And as Dwayne eloquently put it, Ohio State is holding on to not only the best offensive line coach in college football, but in football, period. And he is getting the promotion to offensive coordinator. I'm sure he will get a nice raise with that. So hopefully Urban Meyer and Gene Smith take good care of Ed Warner. I'm sure they will. I want to talk a little bit of defensive end. There's a good competition there, especially at that weak side defensive end spot. And then also to be the backup behind Joey Bosa over at the strong side. And I say weak side and strong side. Larry Johnson doesn't really get into that. He's more just defensive end. We're going to move you guys around. We're going to confuse the other offensive line, the opposing quarterback. Chris Ash likes to do that. Luke Fickell likes to do that. So they're moving guys around. But I want to talk about who's going to be the starter opposite Joey Bosa. It's looking like Taekwon Lewis. He's getting all the first-team reps. Then again, though, Dwayne, I've covered a lot of spring ball, and spring depth charts can be misleading. Like last year, Tony Underwood ran with the first team all of spring ran with the first team throughout spring, and I don't think they had any plans of Tony Underwood being a first-team guard for the Buckeyes. I think they're kind of throwing a bone to an older guy. But with Taekwon Lewis, he's a third-year sophomore. It's not like they're throwing a bone to a senior. I think they really plan on Taekwon Lewis being the starting weak side defensive end. I want you to talk about that. And the other guys that you were impressed with, like who do you like the most out of Darius Slade, Jalen Holmes, Sam Hubbard? Just talk about some of those young defensive ends.
Well, Lewis has earned it. He's the one with the experience. You've got to throw him in there and let him lose the job. That's just you should do that. Let the guy, the most veteran guy, I don't care what year he is, put him in there. Tell him, all that work you put in, you're getting paid right now, but you need to hold the job. So maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I'm not that worried about it because I think we've got a couple of huge talents in Sam Hubbard and in Jalen Holmes. Holmes looks so much better physically. He was running out there looking like a scarecrow with a helmet on last year. He was just, it's like, oh my goodness, pack something on this, throw some weight on this guy somehow. And I saw him this spring, and I'm like, that's what you're supposed to look like. So I think he's the guy of the future. The only thing he has to worry about is Sam Hubbard finding his legs at defensive end. Some of the things that I've been hearing about Sam Hubbard, just his ability, that first step quickness. He's coming off the ball and moving faster than anybody out there. So that's a guy those two guys right there. Haven't heard so much about Darius Slade. I know he's a favorite of Larry Johnson's. Not going to be doubting Larry Johnson at this point. So I think he might end up sliding in on the strong side just to get him in the mix over there. They got to get some guys over there because they may have to borrow from defensive end, strong side end, moving down to the three technique. Get some guys rotating in there. Those guys tend to be similar size. Obviously, tackle's going to be a little bit bigger, but they may need to borrow from that strong side spot. And Slade was the biggest of the ends that we've recruited recently. So not really concerned about the ends. It's just, finding reps for all these guys. I think Lewis has got his work cut out for him. He's really going to have to perform because he's got talent behind him. These guys are not going to sit and wait their turn. They're going to try to take their turn now. So, I'm more concerned about us showing up tackle. And I think we got that. I think we got bodies. I think we got talent. We got a great coach. So not too much worried about that.
Dwayne, on the recruiting front, Brendan Ferns, the number 2 inside linebacker recruit in the nation, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite in the 2016 class. He will visit Ohio State on Saturday. He is out of St. Clairsville, Ohio. His brother, Michael Ferns, recently transferred from Michigan to West Virginia. So a lot of people think, well, maybe Brendan Ferns is going to follow his brother to West Virginia. St. Clairsville is located pretty close to West Virginia, right on the Ohio River there. Good news here, though, with this visit. It's unofficial visit, of course. I can't take official visits now, as everybody knows. But he's bringing his father along with him, and they're staying overnight. So that's two good things. On an unofficial visit, if you stay overnight, that's good. That means you're highly interested. If you bring a family member along with you, that's good. More good news, 70% of the crystal ball picks have Ferns going to Ohio State. West Virginia, Michigan, and Oklahoma are in the mix. Dwayne, what's your take here? Do you think Brendan Ferns will be a Buckeye?
I do. I think it's just a matter of time. I remember reading about things that back when his brother was being recruited that and wasn't really considering Ohio State that strongly, that Brendan had his room decorated in Ohio State gear. He's been down here. He keeps coming back. There's a connection to the program. I think this is where he wants to be. I think you need to see that this is where he can play. Wants to see, just how comfortable he is on campus. Let his dad see it. When they bring their parents, just, why this time? Well, maybe he's going to get it over with. I don't think we're going to take, we'll take obviously an elite guy, but if we take more than two linebackers, I'm going to be a little bit surprised. We're well stocked there. This staff has done such a great job of bringing back to the linebacker ranks. We're so used to great linebacker play here, and for a couple of years it was wanting, to say the least. Now we're seeing elite guys that everybody recruited. This kid's getting recruited from around the country. One of the better inside linebackers in the country. So real excited about the possibility of him becoming a Buckeye, and maybe it'll be this weekend. Might as well get it over with because it seems like it's just a matter of time anyway. Be a great get for us this early. Get so much out of the way, so they can focus on that core group of guys that are going to be harder sells. One less phone call, one less guy they have to maintain contact with, and go get some guys that need to get some defensive tackles in here real badly. We'd like to get Luke Farrell, lock him down. Get a few of those guys in there to shore up spots where we really need help as soon as possible, and not have to worry about guys that you're almost done. Come on, man, get it over with. What are you waiting on? Fire that shot. Let's do it. So looking forward to his visit this weekend, and hopefully we knock it out of the park and get him into the fold.
Well, Dwayne Long always knocks it out of the park. Great stuff, my friend. I want to let the listeners know I'll post an interview with Tony Alford on the site today. He really goes in depth about just being at Ohio State, his thoughts on the running backs, just everything. You're going to want to check out that interview with Tony Alford. Again, we will post that on the site today. I'm sure Bill Kurlick and Alex Gleitman will have recruiting and bolts and everything on the site as well throughout the day. We'll have the boarding house around noon. I hope everybody has a great Easter weekend. Thanks again to Dwayne Long, and take it away, best damn band in the land.